Hi Tubesters, this is Friday. I've made a lot of videos all of a sudden in the last few days, and here's another one. Again, this is on subjects that I've been wanting to get to for a while, but I was thinking maybe it was just a little narcissistic to be on YouTube so much, so I kind of held off. But I got a message to me on on Facebook today, asking a lot of questions, and I thought, well, these are things I wanted to get into anyway and make a video about eventually, and now I'm just going to say, well, I'm going to do my response to these questions as part of this video, which I'm going to call it, since it's Friday, Food for Fuel and Fitness Friday. A lot of F's. Anyway, so I'm hoping that over, well, however many weeks I plan on doing this and how often, I don't know, but I do want to cover the topics of what I personally am doing, what my philosophy is on nutrition and fitness, and how well I'm doing with it, or how much of a struggle it is, which it is a struggle, to be sure. I want to be clear about that. Not going to be preaching. It would be hypocritical for me to preach something that I haven't been doing so well myself, but I'm sure going to be trying. And then reporting along the way on the progress, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, first of all, about fuel. Food is fuel. As I was training for a triathlon, this was 10 years ago, I weighed 230, which is about what I weigh now. I weigh 227. And when I was 230 and 48 years old, I decided, I have enough of this. I don't like the way I'm feeling. I got to do something. And I knew it was going to have to involve not only a drastic change in my diet, but also in exercise. Because for me, I've never been able to lose weight very easily, more than, say, a quarter pound a week, if that, unless I was doing some serious exercise. So I was posting on a Weight Watchers board, and and they, if you've been there, they have all these different groups, or at least they used to. I don't know what they do now, but I had one for cycling and one for swimming, and someone pointed out, well, wait a minute, if you're cycling and swimming, you ought to be doing a triathlon. And I said, well, I don't run, not for me. And they pointed out, but you can walk. So I thought, well, okay, that sounds interesting, sounds like a challenge. So I went on, I told everybody I'm going to be training for a triathlon, because when I announce something to the world, kind of like doing these YouTube videos, then I feel like I need to follow up with it. It's a great way of accountability. I'm putting it out there, setting up expectations, not only myself, but in others of me, and it keeps me going. So I trained for that triathlon, and while going through that training, I would get to certain periods where I wasn't doing as well, not feeling as well, and I turned to other triathletes to find out maybe what I was doing wrong or what I could do differently. And what I found out, my biggest takeaway from all of it, is thinking of food as fuel. You don't want to put bad gasoline into your high-performance car, right? And you don't expect that it's going to be a race engine that's going to do really well if you're putting crappy gasoline in it. So, that analogy stuck with me, and I really started thinking about it. So then I started really paying attention, not just to calories, but to protein and carbohydrate and fat ratios, to processed foods, because I was used to losing weight on processed foods, all the Healthy Choice and the Weight Watchers and all that kind of stuff, frozen convenience foods, and then later on Jenny Craig as well. All of those things help me with proportion sizes, which I have trouble with, I have to say, but you know what, in my mind now, it's the equivalent of junk food in a way. But I'll save that lecture for another day, and I will no doubt once in a while revert back to some of what I'm just called junk food. Basically things that have um, a lot of ingredients to them, and preservatives, and chemical sounding names to them, and sugars. A few other things, that your body certainly doesn't need, but it's put in there for flavor and for making it more attractive, and preservatives, all that kind of thing. So I wanted to eat more naturally, and that's something that I've been doing over the last 10 years for the most part. Most of my problems have been in portion size and binge eating when emotional, or depressed, or angry, or a whole lot of other reasons. So for the most part, I think that, in my opinion, I've been eating fairly clean. Now, what does clean mean? I tend to eat clean proteins, and by that I mean lean proteins. Again, nothing processed, so you're not going to see me getting deli meats, for example. It's going to be, for the most part, when I can afford it and get it easily, because I am a creature of convenience, I have to say. And at times the budget is shot, so I don't always stick to organic, free range, and all those kinds of things. When I can, I do. So I'm not a total purist, but I'm certainly better than I was, and hopefully, can stick to saying I'm eating fairly clean, okay? But I eat a lot of fish. I eat chicken. I eat eggs, and I guess I'm going to stick with what I eat right now and not what I have eaten in the past. In terms of chicken, I'm just eating a little bit. 4 weeks post-op right now, so a little more than 4 weeks. So I'm on week 5 now, where I can start adding that back in. And I have yet to cook some chicken and cut it up and eat it straight up without pureeing it, so I'll probably do that later today, actually. But what I have done this week is I've been eating a sashimi. I had 2 types of fish that I'd gotten at Whole Foods that were sushi grade, and ask the people there, are these sushi grade? And so they should be honest with you. In fact, they usually label it sushi grade if it truly is, and that means you can eat it raw without fear. So the 2 things that they had sushi grade was the Hawaiian whitefish, which I'm blanking on the name of right now, and then the other one was tuna. So those I got around 1/4 pound of each, and spent all week slicing it very thinly, one or the other, and maybe eating around 2 ounces a meal of one or the other, along with wasabi and tamari sauce. Now, tamari I do because I'm gluten-free. I have been gluten-free since January. It had nothing to do with bariatric surgery. It had to do with me being in severe pain and finding out that if I ate gluten-free, I can avoid the pain. I don't have celiac, but for whatever reason, whatever was going on in my body, at the time, it began causing severe pain with gluten back about February 2013. So that got me on the gluten-free diet. I started reading up about being gluten-free and became convinced it's something that I should just stick with. And the fear of going back to that pain is something that keeps me on the straight and narrow. Although I have to say I have inadvertently had some gluten. In the meantime, it didn't bother me, so I think I'm over the severe intolerance. But nonetheless, I'm going to stay gluten-free. And I've been able to say that and do that now since February. It's now the end of August, so it's been 6 months of gluten-free and feeling a lot better and losing weight, even without the surgery, because of being gluten-free. So when I went gluten-free, and among the reading that I did, I picked up J.J. Virgin's book, The Virgin Diet, and I've talked about that before. I would say it's worth a look at to see her reasonings why you shouldn't be on 7 foods that she names. It includes gluten and food groups, whole food groups, dairy, soy, corn, peanuts, sugars, and I'm always leaving out something when I go through the list. Where I am with that right now is I do eat sugar-free. The only sugar or sugar type that I have are the sugars that they're putting in the protein powders that I use. Typically this is cane, what is it? I'll have to look at it again. Anyway, supposedly better sugars than a straight up table sugar like what you would have. I stay completely away from artificial sweeteners. I do have stevia, but I don't really use it because of the bitter aftertaste. I do use xylitol, Xylitol, and the brand I use is Xyla, which I get at Whole Foods, and it pretty much substitutes directly the way you would with sugar. So I have found that by going sugar-free, I have had less and less and less desire for sugary things. And I had a major sweet tooth before I had all these issues with my diet. I don't anymore, and thank God, because it allows me to eat much better without feeling guilty, without having cravings. You know, I can go by somebody else eating something full of sugar, and I actually kind of feel sorry for them. I'm not tempted at all. I'm not feeling deprived or whatever. I'm thinking, wow, what they're doing to their bodies, you know, because I don't have the craving anymore. Now, do I still eat sweet things? Yes, I do. And one example is an ice cream, quote unquote, that I made last night with my Vitamix blender. I did a review on Vitamix, so again, I won't go into that more detail. See my other video on that. But it allows you to make ices, flavored ices and ice cream in the Vitamix blender food processor, all the things that it is. And I tried one last night where I had skim milk, protein powder, xylitol, ice cubes, and a frozen banana, parts of a frozen banana. I made enough where there were at least four servings, or maybe more like 6 of the serving sizes that I eat now. But it had a lot of protein. It tasted wonderful. And it was great for both me and my husband, who was diabetic. He's skinny, but he's diabetic, which I am not, by the way. So my going sugar-free had nothing to do with having diabetes. It had everything to do with just wanting to be free of any kind of sugar addiction, wanting to feel better. And it is one of the things that does allow me to feel better. I'm totally convinced. Now, going dairy-free, I was dairy-free for quite a while, but the problem with preparing for bariatric surgery and recovering from bariatric surgery is dairy is all over the place. If it's not milk, it's whey products in the protein drinks and powders. It's yogurt. You know, a lot of the protein that you're going to get. If you can't tolerate the meats and that kind of thing, you know, dairy seems to be the go-to thing. I was going to try to avoid it altogether, but when I found that I could tolerate it again, I decided, okay, for a short-term period, I will include it in my diet. And right now, it is in my diet. So that ice cream, I'll have to think of another way to make it in the future. Probably it will be with coconut milk. I avoid soy, by the way. The only soy product that I have in my diet is the tamari sauce. The tamari, by the way, I think I got off track a little while ago. Tamari is soy sauce made without added wheat. I don't need the wheat. Thank you very much. Tamari to me tastes better anyway. Still tastes pretty much like soy sauce, but it just seems cleaner. It tastes cleaner. and it is cleaner. It doesn't have the gluten in it. So I have tamari and wasabi, and mix those two together and use that for all of my sashimi I've been having this week. So anyway, that kind of touches on what my diet is this week. I'm adding back in more eggs now. I was allowed to switch from soft cooked eggs to scrambled eggs, and so I made a little omelet with one egg and a little bit of water, whisk that up with salt and pepper, and cook that with maybe a tablespoon of reduced fat cheddar cheese. Again, cheeses are something that I've stayed completely away from until today, for months and months. We'll see how that goes. Again, I want to get it back out of my diet soon, but right now, because everything's limited, that's what I have. Okay, questions that I had from my friend on Facebook. Let me see what else. What is your diet like right now? I just answered that. How does your diet affect others who live with you? Well, luckily for me, my husband goes along with just about anything I do. Bless his heart. He has various health issues, so he's more than happy to eat healthy, although his definition of healthy is having to change because his has been a largely Asian-based diet, which has included a ton of white rice, which he's finally off of at least having brown rice instead of that. But he does tend to go off on some tangents that I don't follow him on right now, and that would include things like chips and soda. I don't get the fascination with soda. I don't go there. The last soda I had was a Diet Coke maybe 7-8 months ago, and I only had about 2 ounces of it. And I did it for the caffeine because I was so tired and I was at work and I needed to get through the evening. I work an evening shift, so don't need it. By the way, I'm caffeine free as well. So not just no more Diet Coke, but no caffeine at all. I never was a coffee drinker. The only tea I have is herbal tea, and that's kind of rare too, although I might get back to drinking that a little bit. Let's see, what else do I not have in my diet? I guess I'm describing more what I don't have than what I do have. But those are kind of the basics. No processed foods, no gluten, very little soy except for the tamari, a lot of fish, a little bit of chicken, some eggs, and protein shakes are the only processed foods that I have, and they're kind of a necessary evil at the moment. By the way, the protein that I've had, and I mentioned this in several of my videos, is pea protein, PEA protein. I get mine from Virgin, JJ Virgin's company. I think it's at virgin.com, although that might be the airlines, I don't know. But if you Google JJ Virgin or the Virgin Diet, maybe it's virgindiet.com, I'm not sure. But anyway, she has 3 flavors of protein shakes. I really love the chai. The chocolate's pretty good too. The vanilla's okay, but I'm not so much of a vanilla girl, I have to say, unless I mix it with other things. I think it's kind of boring. But I do mix it with other things. And I have had the last week a really good shake that was an orange and the vanilla and some skim milk, and it was great in protein and wonderful. Anyway, my diet doesn't affect my husband hardly at all. He either eats what I fix for myself or he fixes himself something else, which he rarely does. Now, a couple of times he has gone out on his way to work, and I know he's gone to Carl's Jr. to pick up a burger or 2. He's also done some tacos on his way to work. Whatever. I used to eat that way too, and the tacos that he often gets are fish tacos. A lot of fried stuff, but it is what it is. Okay, this video is going really long, so I'm going to cut this off and do a part 2.